Hey, everybody. Hi, everybody.
All right, we'll get going. Lance was the first to raise his hand, so Lance, fire away with the first question.
Hi, Ralph. Hope you and your family are doing well. Thanks for doing this. And just start off, now that you've probably had time to maybe reflect on this season, you're 1 year into your plan. You knew it was going to take time to get the team from that bottom portion of the league to the middle and the top. So where do you think your plan is, 1 year in on the job, and what does this group need to do to get to that next level to be in the conversation?
Well, thanks for the question, and it's a pleasure to be here today, Lance. Really, to see everybody here on the screen, and we've had 11 weeks to reflect, and a lot has happened already. We did get the confirmation that this season does come to a close, so it's time to express those feelings. But where are we right now? I mean, it's a tale of two types of emotions at the moment. On the one side, we're measured by results, we're measured by points, we're measured by where we are in the standings, and that's extremely disappointing and painful right now through this phase to look at that reality. The other tale, the other side, is the evolution of this group, which, again, we've had a lot of time to dig deep here, and I'll get into some more detail on that later, I'm sure, during this call. But above all, we are encouraged by the spirit of the group. We're encouraged by the maturing of the group. We're encouraged by the embracing of how we need to play and the identity that gives us a chance to compete every night. It's real. We feel it right through the lineup. We don't think after these 11 weeks that there's one player who isn't embracing the journey. And so that's how I sit really here after 1 year, encouraged by a lot of signs, encouraged by the buy-in, encouraged by the culture that we're evolving and growing into, and the habits that are forming, but extremely disappointed with our placing after a season that saw us quite competitive on almost every night. And yet we fell much below the mark that we had set. And may that pain and may that disappointment help us grow.
Good morning, or I guess it's good afternoon, Ralph, for you. But John Warrow here. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for doing this. To kind of follow up on what you said, well, actually, a bit of a joke is do you ever get to finish a full season or get to coach a full 82-game season? But how do you plan to carry over that message and the motivation? And we heard Jack Eichel say he's fed up yesterday. How can you carry that pain and the bond that this team built over the course of the season, knowing that you're going into an extended break? And what are the pitfalls of not being able to carry over that? And how do you emphasize what this team's learned?
So that's a good question, John. And yeah, thank you. My family is safe and healthy here. But how do we continue? Well, I have to say we jumped right into the communication with the players off the hop, and we've had multiple contacts with them. Also using the vehicle of Zoom, and our high performance team was managing the physical side of things until we had clarity. The focus needed to be on re-entering and still playing. And so it's been, driven that direction. But already this week, we've begun to have contacts with players, and we need to stay connected. Like, our motto from the start was play connected. And it means we need to play connected here. However long this break is, we need it to work for us, and we need to use it as an opportunity. It's our only choice. We can't complain. It's a waste of energy. We can't feel sorry for ourselves for not being in a potential hypothetical playoff. But again, we were responsible for that, and now we need to be responsible for this time that we have. And how do we do it? Is just staying strong in our communication. We right through the season communicated very strongly with the players, and we're continuing to do that here in the summer. We're doing group meetings, we're doing group chats with them, we're doing one-on-one chats. We're not trying to suffocate them, but we are staying in a high quality way connected to the players, and we're going to stay on them. We're going to set measurable targets. And what I feel right now out of my heart is that this group, when they get to play again together, is going to be extremely hungry to work towards that next level. I really have that impression after 11 weeks of interaction with them. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Ralph, good to see you again. Matt Bove from Channel 7 here. First off, thanks for showing up with the blazer on. You really put us all to shame. So nice work there. You know, yesterday and the day before, we talked to so many of your players, and they all brought up your leadership ability and what you brought to that locker room. For you to build this team into a winner, do you need to have that relationship with the players? Is this part of the goal, is to get as connected, as you said, as possible, and then eventually the success on the ice will happen?
Well, you know, it's not something that I do strategically. It's what I do as a leader naturally, and I enjoy so much, the good and the bad. I enjoy the dialogue with you all. I enjoy it with the players. I like to be challenged by you. I like to be challenged by the players. And so what we have here is, a situation where we need to continue to grow out of those challenges with each other, and we need to grow out of the frustrations that we've had in the past. And I think that working together here as a group moving forward is going to be extremely exciting when I look at how honest the players communicate with us, Matt, I lost you just on the last part of your question there. Can you get Matt the mic again?
Yeah. And then Ralph, I just kind of said, does this leadership style, is this something that needs to happen for the success on the ice to follow? Because, we saw that at times this year, and then ultimately, the slip happened and the West Coast road trip and everything. But does that leadership eventually equate to success on the ice?
Well, I think that's, thank you. Sorry about that, Matt. But quite clearly, I believe that leadership needs to drive two main components into a team. And the number one level of respect that we need to have within each other is based on, creating a positive environment, and a leader drives that. If I'm expecting a positive, constructive, solution-focused environment from the players, yet I am beating on them and dragging them down and not living that way, it doesn't work. So I just believe that I need to be part of that process and an example in that process. And the other side is, of course, the discipline that we need. And I want to tell you right now, as a leader, I am so excited about the sacrifice and the work ethic that we've brought into this group. There was a lot of it naturally, but it's coming in the whole. And, as a leader, those need to be the driving factors, that you create an environment where everybody respects each other, so we can trust each other to communicate openly. And the other is to create an environment where everybody tries to improve every day and works extremely hard in the moment on what they can control. And I need to do that as a leader, as I expect that from the players. And I feel on both those counts, we are evolving in the right direction.
Hi, Ralph. Wonderful to see you. Good to talk with you today. To kind of tag up on Matt's question, what does it mean to you to have the players almost unprompted speak up for you and to say how happy they were with you, and even Jack going as far as to say that you're the most natural born leader he's ever met?
Well, it's always wonderful to feel that openness, because usually players aren't that open in their communication. I have to tell you, on multiple levels, 1 year ago, I did not know the city of Buffalo. I did not know the ownership of Buffalo. I didn't know what the coaching job was going to be like in Buffalo. I certainly didn't know the players or the staff in Buffalo, and I didn't know the fan base. And one thing I can tell you when you're in is we live in the heart of Buffalo, and my wife and I really enjoy the city, number one. Number two, the ownership, the management team, these are good people. They are wonderful to spend time with. They challenge you in a healthy way and support you in a necessary way, and I enjoy that. And you know, the team, my God, it's been such a joy to work with these guys, and it's just been easy because they are ready for this type of environment, and their natural instincts are able to flow here. And so I like the people I'm working with, my staff, the coaches, and above all, I truly love the Sabres, and I love our fan base. And I know there's pain out there, and I know there's anger, but I feel so many positives after 1 year experience. And at the most important thing is who do I work with as a coach every day, and that's the players. And I'm happy to hear they're on board, because the expectations are only going to go up for us as we grow. And when you get those kind of compliments, that's a high bar to jump over and over again. And as a coach, I look forward to trying to do my best to do that again.
Hi, Ralph. I'm sure you heard Jack Eichel's comments yesterday. Had he relayed that to you before? I mean, what do you think of those comments? Do you understand his frustrations?
Yeah, hi, Bill. I mean, it's across the board. We are frustrated. I mean, we are not where we want to be, and that's what I mentioned on my very first, answer to Lance's question, was that we're on two different sides here. We're emotionally angry and frustrated because we all know that more than halfway into the season, we were expecting to be a playoff team, and we slipped out of that. And, the targets kept changing, and we needed to win 2 of 3. Then we needed to win 3 of 4. Then we needed to win 4 of 5. And suddenly we were out of the race. And so that there's pain and anger, and that Jack's at the lead of that, that's a really good sign, and it's very healthy. And it also shows that our core has a youth that is they're willing to reach for higher standards. They're willing to reach, and now we need to do the work that backs that up. Because all this talk, I can tell you anything right now about the past. It's not really important what I say about the past. It's the actions that we now take that are going to matter. And when we get the opportunity to come together a group, we have to give those actions to the fans. We have to show them on the ice. But on that way now, each individual is going to carry a big responsibility. So if we're going to complain and be angry about the past, we need to work extremely hard right now, because the only people that are going to change it is us. We have the opportunity to change it, and only we can do that. And it will not come easy to get the momentum and the positive feeling in Buffalo that we're all searching for. Will not be given to us, and it's going to be a tough grind coming up here. And I know the players know that, but I like the anger. I have no problem with people outing frustration on the past, but then let's move that conversation forward real quick, and let's figure out what we're going to do about it. And that's going to be our job now, no matter how long the break is.
Hey, Ralph, Heather Kruzak here from the CBS station here in Buffalo. Definitely the best dressed guy that we've seen throughout these Zoom calls, I gotta say. Thanks for doing this. Speaking of that frustration and some of the players' comments, I want to ask you about some of the things that Rasmus Ristolainen said yesterday. He mentioned that, if changes happen, he thinks that he would be probably one of the first guys to be traded. Do you see him as one of, your core guys? And, just what do you make of those comments that he said?
Well, what I love about Risto is he doesn't hold back on anything. He tells you the truth all the time. So I've really enjoyed working with him this year. When I began coaching him, and I was the leader of that room, he was somebody that wanted to be traded, and now he has embraced our path, and he was all in on our pathway this year, and he attempted, to compete at a high level right through. So he's a centerpiece of what we're doing here. And the National Hockey League is a world of moving pieces. I want to coach Risto next season. I would enjoy coaching Risto next season. So that's probably all I need to say to you. And that Risto always comes with a little bit of bite is what we love about him. And I'm expecting to see him as a centerpiece and a core player in our group next year. And thanks for the clothing compliments, by the way. I thought I'd dress up. You guys don't know what I have on my lower body, how nice these shorts are.
Hey, Ralph. Well, I love the rafters in the background. I'm not going to talk about the clothing. I just like the rafters.
That's great. Welcome to my home.
Great to see you again. Rasmus Ristolainen also talked about, even before he got in the NHL, he doesn't know what a winning culture is. He said in Finland, coaches got fired every year, GMs got fired every year. He goes, I've never been part of one. I don't know what a winning culture is. And as you move forward now, you've got some guys who have done nothing but lose. I mean, Rasmus talked about 7 years of losing. Jack talked about 5 years of losing. Sam, 6 years of losing. You can throw Gergensons in there. You can throw Larson in there. I mean, they've done nothing but losing in their professional careers. So as you move forward and you want to change that culture, you're trying to change a culture of guys who don't know anything different other than what losing is. So how do you move forward with that?
Well, for me, a winning culture is a culture that reaches its potential. So that's the measuring stick for me as a leader, is I, as a coach, need to know at the end of a season that I've pushed a group towards its potential, and each player should demand that of himself. And if we do reach our potential, then we're part of a winning culture. Now, in the National Hockey League, there's one measuring stick, and that's the playoffs. The playoffs, everybody above that line is a winner. Everybody below that line is a loser. It's the reality, and we accept that. And that's what the players are speaking about. But they also have done a lot of winning, especially those two players you just mentioned, Jack and Risto. The work they put in, 365, 24/7, those are athletes. And they're just a couple of the many examples in our team that have helped to take hockey to a whole new level. When I coached this game before I came to the Sabres, it was at a different pace, and it was at a different physicality, and it was at a different technical level. The game has improved so dramatically in the last decade, and it's why it's so beautiful to be a part of this game. And they've worked hard to do that. So they are winners insofar as they're in the National Hockey League, they're at the highest level, but the group that they've been a part of hasn't found the potential above that line, above the playoff line. And that's what we need to find. I see those guys both as winners because of how they compete. I see them both as winners because they care. And I'm just watching what those two guys did the last 11 weeks. They've all purchased fitness equipment. They've all built multiple gyms that they could open to the public just to be ready in case we were playing again. Those aren't losers to me. Those are winners. And what we need to do is get all of those dots connected, all the players, the management, the coaches, the organization, and we need to get it above the line. And that's the challenge. And then we will hit that definition, because there's a lot of different definitions of winners. We all know that. And, for me, that is really important to separate the fact that individuals might be doing what they're needing to do, but the group as a whole hasn't gotten there yet, and that's where we need to go.
Hey, Ralph, John Scott from Spectrum News. Thanks for doing this. Jack Eichel was incredibly complimentary of you and gave you a lot of credit, calling you one of the best natural-born leaders he's ever been around. Can you just describe to us the relationship you guys developed, how it evolved over the season, and how important it is to have such a strong connection with a player of his level and the captain of the team?
Well, Jack's just, wonderful to coach because he just wants to get better every single day in whatever the role is, whatever the responsibility, on the ice, off the ice, everywhere he wants to evolve. So that's a lot of fun to be a leader of a person like that. And our relationship is one of quality, not quantity. We don't need to speak hundreds of words. Often it was just eye contact on the bench in the third period, and there was a connection. And I was leading and he was taking his responsibility without even saying a word. And, we would sometimes, run into each other in the hallway, and it would be 5-6 sentences were enough to get the whole group refocused on the task at hand because we'd had a horrible game the night before. So, I think more than anything, we have a natural relationship. Nothing is forced. Everything just comes easy. Since we met in Slovakia over a year ago, the conversations are predominantly focused on improving the Sabres and doing what we can do in our roles to get this team into the playoffs and to, turn this into a winning organization over more years in a row. And I'm very pleased that he has the openness to bring that out in the public. Feelings are mutual, and it's extremely exciting to feel, his hunger right at this very moment to use the break, to use this also as an opportunity for us to improve as a team. And, we'll continue to do that together.
This is Mike Zeisberger from NHL.com. Thank you for doing this, and glad to hear you and your family are doing well. As you move forward, people talk about a losing culture. I mean, Jack and Risto talked about it or touched on it a little bit yesterday. They haven't made the playoffs. Obviously, this is history. The team hasn't made the playoffs in 9 years. You found yourself, and obviously there's no salary cap, but in a similar situation when you went to Southampton. It's easy to say like winning solves all that, but when you are in a place where there is a perception of a losing culture, what lessons did you take from Southampton to get away from the shackles of that kind of stigma?
Yeah, the most important thing is of course what you said in that statement is critical, and that's that nothing ever replaces winning in sports. That is for sure a given. But I believe when you lead in roles in an organization, your focus needs to be on an excellence in everything that we can control, and take that responsibility to heart and make sure you surround yourself with people that buy into that and trust that that will then take you to the winning that all the fans and the outside world judges you on. Because we are judged on that superficial number of the outside, whereas the internal, the true, the abstract of what is actually the potential of a player, what is the potential of a team, doesn't have a definite number. The definite number is the points we got in the standings this year and that we ended up in 25th. That's definite, and it's unacceptable, and we have to take that. But what I did was take the focus away from anything other than being excellent in the moment and trusting that that builds into the wins that we all so desire. And it's what we're doing in Buffalo right now. We're we can look in three different directions. That's what happened in Southampton. It's what's happened when I went to the Swiss national team or I came to Buffalo. You can look in three different directions. You can look to the past, which we definitely need to do because we learn from the past, and we need to move ourselves forward quickly. So like within a game, I will judge every shift of every player as I'm watching it, and then I need to move into the next shifts, and he will play or he won't play, or he'll play more, or maybe power play or penalty kill. So you react to that. And after a game, you do that. And after a season, you have to do that. You have to look back. You have to look things in the eye that you didn't like, that you can improve on. But as quickly as possible in each of those environments, wherever I was, you got to get people back into actions in the moment, learning from that past, and then we have to go forward. And forward together and keep reaching towards the goals and believing in the dreams that we all have, which are big with the Buffalo Sabres. And, you know, I think that for me personally, as an example, number one thing here is I take responsibility for where we finished. And the first thing that has to happen, what do I control? Number one, I control myself. I've got to be better. I've got to be better as a coach. I've got to be better as a leader. That's where it starts. And then I have to drive that into the people around me. I have to drive it into the staff, into our high performance staff, into our players. And that's how we will build a winning culture for all, no matter how you judge it, whether it's internally, our potential, or in the standings. But it's not easy. I've already said it. And, you know, I'm excited about working to get better and growing in what I knew was going to be a difficult challenge. And the history of my time is 1 year now. That's the history I have, but I know so much more than I did a year ago. I have so much more information, and now we need to use it.
Hey, Ralph, Mike Catalana in Rochester. Thanks for doing this. Following what you just said, you come in, and there's not very much patience in sports these days, but you talk about building, right? You're a brand new coach, yet you took over in an organization that's almost a decade without the playoffs. So how do you personally guard against trying to build and knowing this is a fan base that's waited almost a decade to get back in the playoffs and not lose sight of what it takes to actually build? But on the other hand, you got to win. You have those two masters going at the same time.
Yeah, I need to make sure we keep it simple and we keep that picture small when we come back together. It's time now to open up the viewfinder. We have opened up that viewfinder with the players. I mentioned to you that the physical side has already been addressed, and all the players bought into that through Instagram, through Zoom, through all kinds of platforms. We've been building an unbelievable physical base with the guys over the last 11 weeks. And, you know, Joe Collins at the head of our high performance, Ed Gannon, JT Allaire, they're, you know, with the fitness have been in contact. So physically we're evolving, and now we're going to regroup. We have clarity. We know it's the off season, and we might have a 2-month extension on the regular off season. So let's, you know, we've kind of said that April maybe becomes June, and away we go on our off season, and we need to use that off season. But then there's the skill side. You know, there's a lot of things we've identified, and the coaches have had meetings weekly on Zoom, and we have taken a deep dive into each individual player, his skill set, the technical, you know, strengths and weaknesses that he has, and what he can do to develop. So we're looking at that. And, you know, tactically, we haven't spent that much time on the overall tactics, overall riding tactics. We were expecting to play games again this season. We didn't want to make any major adjustments. We're going to start looking at that now. And finally, it's the mental side of the group. We need to get better. You know, we seemed to fatigue at times during the season and lose our focus on the game that we all knew we needed to play. The players have said it. They've embraced it. They've tried so hard, but here and there we lost our way. And when we lost our way, we had confirmation what the actual way needed to be. We got back to it, but we lost our way twice for 6 losses in a row this year, and it killed us. It killed our season. It killed everything we worked for, everything we wanted to do. All our dreams were destroyed in 2 phases where I believe we actually mentally lost our way, and not physically or strategically or individually, you know. And I think that that's going to be an area that we're going to work on to improve. And I need to find better ways to tap into that through an 82-game schedule, which you jokingly already have said that I might never get. I just keep coaching short seasons, but the next one may be 82 games. But those are some thoughts, Mike, to what you were saying, how we can actually, you know, work now through this phase. But above all, let's keep that picture nice and small. What can we control? And just like our system on the ice, we like to keep things simple, because if we start letting all of the outside noise come into our decision making, it'll take us off track. And above all, you need to be strong and resilient and show your team is connected when we're getting difficult challenges thrown at us from the outside. It's okay. It's good. Everybody has that right, but we need to stay strong and on course. And like you can hear in my language, we have a lot of work to do in the off season. We have a lot of work to do whenever our next training camp comes, and we have a lot of work to do to get to that next level, but we will get there.
Hello again, Ralph. I've got actually got two questions for you. First one is, have you made a decision on whether your entire coaching staff will return next season? And the second part of my question is, special teams were obviously a huge issue for you guys this year. You did a tremendous job at the 5-on-5 game, but penalty kill and power play really let you down for most of the season. So for the next few months, what's the key? What do you guys do for for both special teams units, but particularly the penalty kill? You guys use pretty much the same system as you did the year prior, with different results, obviously.
Yeah, no, the coaching staff, under these circumstances, there's a lot of power and continuity, because we've all had, I mean, who would have thought 11 weeks ago that we'd be having a press conference of this nature at this time? And it's been there's so much change and so many distractions right now that I believe continuity is important and actually will strengthen us. And this coaching staff, really did a good job of helping to build the culture on and off the ice that we need. And I'm excited to work with them going forward. And specialty teams are an easy target. It's an easy number to look at, but as you already mentioned, it seemed to be that we got off track, and we had a few games that really killed us statistically, and we need to improve there. But you know what? There's a lot of little details within other parts of our game that we've started to identify need improvement or have opportunity, and we need to attack that. But I thought the power play as a whole went through some really good evolution, and that at the end there was something exciting happening. We started to get more movement. We were less predictable. We had, you can remember, options of Risto in front of the net, up at the blue line. Dahl start to play the offside. Jack had a lot more movement, and we were excited about Sam's play there. That group in general, Ollie was back. That group of five really, really showed potential, and we have good backup behind that and multiple players. But on the PK, I would say, I take responsibility as a head coach for that department not working well, and I look forward to the challenge of improving there. It's always a combination of personnel, systems, and then execution that needs to be looked at. But we will, as I've already mentioned, look at every area that has room for improvement. And you, of course, have identified, how important the specialty teams would be. We love the growth 5-on-5 without the puck. I think the commitment we have there and the understanding of what needs to happen to be competitive at the top level in the NHL was often evident. I think we showed we're not afraid of any team anymore. If there was a fear before the season, it is gone. We looked the biggest teams in the NHL in the eye when we played them. Not a comfort for finishing where we did, but it is encouraging that we've now shook the unnecessary respect, because we are good enough to play against anybody eye to eye on a given night. And so I like that evolution in the team. I thought we were tough to play against, especially at home. I thought we made it uncomfortable for teams, and we were we were quite assertive in the way we defended, especially at home. We need to carry that on the road. We need to underline that game on the road. But I know everybody on this screen right now saw those phases of what we need to do. And for me, again, I want to go back, to what I said earlier on, and that's that I believe mentally we need to get stronger as a group to sustain that level of play right through an 82-game schedule.
Hi, Ralph. John Worrell once again. I wanted to draw upon your global experience and your experience in other sports, and try to get your perspective, having seen what's happened to the entire sports landscape. And I'm not minimizing at all the deaths and the tragedies that have occurred, but from a sports perspective and seeing what's happened to that landscape, how do you think sports, perhaps even specifically the NHL, comes out of this at the other end financially, from a fan perspective? Just how do you see it coming out, and how do you foresee it coming out?
Well, as the hotspots have moved from China to Europe to North America to South America, and now, sadly rampant in the Amazon, and it's been shocking to see, and it's thrown the whole world off balance. I mean, we are all off balance. There's nobody who wakes up in the morning and goes through an entire day calm and centered right now. It's for different reasons. And, sports draws competitive people. Sports draws people that are not only stretching for wins, but also know how to deal with losses and deal with setbacks. And I believe sports has a huge role in society regaining its confidence and society getting centered and balanced again. And I see that responsibility, and I actually get some goosebumps feeling that responsibility, that it's going to be bigger than us just playing hockey in Buffalo. It's bringing the community back together and giving people the confidence to spend time together again and to socialize properly. We are social animals, and we are being restrained and tied up and cooped in right now. And what better vehicle than sports to bring people back together and bring some sense of normality? So I believe that sports will recover, and I believe sports will have an important role in the new, found environments that we're going to walk out into the streets in when all the, restrictions are dropped around the world. And within that, I think we have a responsibility that's bigger than just the games that we all play. It's also to help people that aren't so used to losing, aren't so used to standing up after getting knocked down, aren't so used to having to permanently develop all the time to keep your job and to compete at the highest level, like the Sabres players, as an example. So I look forward to us being an example in the community in Buffalo. I look forward to us leading the charge back to an exciting sharing of experiences again together. This Zoom is working out really well today, but I would way rather be all together with all of you in one room right now. And I look forward to that happening again soon. Thank you.
Hi, Ralph. This is Axel Jeroma from NHL.com International. Greetings from Germany.
Ciao.
And my question is concerning to a German fellow. Could you evaluate the short period of time of Dominik Kahun a little bit right now? And is he also a centerpiece for the future?
Well, thanks for joining from Axel, and greetings back to Germany. Dominik, he stepped into what we expect from a player so quickly. He's a very smart player. He understood the culture. He understood the role that he needed to play, and he seemed to just fit into our group like a glove. And so, as a coaching staff, we hope that everything goes well to have him back into the group next year, and we're excited about his future. He's been playing wing. He's got the potential to possibly also play center eventually. I know I've watched him play in the international game as a centerman. So, that excites us. But no, Dominik left a really good impression, and he was a strong cultural and athletic fit into our team.
Hey, Ralph, Greg Vorse from Spectrum News here in Buffalo. Your guys put it very bluntly that it sucks. They're not going to get to play games for 9 or 10 months. You've talked about accountability on this call. knowing it's different for everybody, for a guy living in Buffalo versus living in Los Angeles versus living in Sweden, what are your expectations for your guys over these next few months, with what are obviously very uncertain times?
Yeah, the expectations, and that's a really good word, Greg, because one of the things we work on with the players is always keeping our expectations on the table. Everybody knows, we know what they want, they know what we want, and so on. And so, you know, as I've already mentioned, we began a few weeks after the quarantine. We began communicating with the players, and we've continued to do that. And they were outstanding in how they kept themselves physically fit. Holding on to that hope of still playing some games together is what we were hoping would happen. Now, you know, the NHL has done an amazing job of keeping, you know, the hope alive that there's going to be a season. But as I've already mentioned, you know, the playoffs happening are still hypothetical. You know, we wish that it happens. We hope it comes through. No matter what happens on that side, we know what our plan is now, and that is to begin the off season. So there will be a certain regeneration phase here, and then we will look to peak at a later date than anybody going into playoff mode right now. So there's been an adjustment of that already, and you know, for us, it's just going to be really important, Greg, to keep those expectations in a healthy way, that the players understand the rest when they need it, the work when they need it, and you know, our high performance people are working really tight with all the personal trainers of the player. Already have good relationships. They've flown out there multiple times to most of the players in the past summers. So, you know, we've already built trust and relationships there that'll help us a lot in this situation of distance. And like you said, everybody having diverse circumstances from which to work, but most of them are starting to trickle back on the ice. Most of them have their equipment back and are being able to get into rinks. So, you know, it is going to be a while, but, you know, if we use this time properly, we will come out of it physically stronger, and we'll be a better team for it. And it's just important that we continually communicate those expectations with each other and keep things moving constructively forward.
Hello, Ralph. I'm glad to hear you and the family are doing well over there. Very glad to hear that. You're welcome. As you know, I enjoy hearing all your views outside of hockey. You touched on what sports can do. What can people do? It seems for a lot of people, the world is literally and figuratively burning. I mean, people are searching for the right thing to say. I hate to put you on the spot, but what have you got?
Well, you know, in these situations, again, you need to look where you can control things. So I think our management of information right now is critical for our sanity. You know, we got to make sure that whatever your platform of information is, that you take a time of day to inform yourself, that you know what's going on, but let's not saturate ourselves so we get, you know, we are unable to perform in our tasks, because we still need to, number one, take care of people we can take care of, help and support where we can. You know, I've enjoyed doing it in multiple different ways. Last night, European time, I had a 2-hour coaching conference with Hockey Canada and all the youth coaches of the national team programs, and so on and so forth. Now, that's not helping the cause at the front, and I can't replace the doctors and the amazing nurses that are sacrificing at the front, but just trying to educate people, help people, do something constructive seems to make me feel better. So there's little I can do on the medical front, I think it's really important that we all find whatever our level is of exercise, and if we can connect with nature, and if we can make sure that we, you know, whether it's just a walk, let's find some balance and take care of ourselves personally, take care of the people around you, and try and help in your community and reach out in your community however you can. And we need to be patient. We need to be patient. This isn't going to clear up overnight, and we will come out stronger. We will all come out with more power. But while we're in it, it's you know, for me, I've been planning like a week at a time, And my mornings have, because of time change, been dedicated to nature and sports and or family if I can. And then usually because of time change, I kind of use the afternoons to work and into the early evenings, and it goes back, to my wife and try to read a book or watch a movie or do something to clear your mind. And of course, not watch news 24/7 is one of the tips I give everybody is just try and keep a healthy dose of that coming into your mind.
Hey, Ralph. It seemed like after Rasmus Dahlin came back from his concussion, that was kind of a line in his season. What happened to him after the concussion? I mean, he said that he really used the time, those 10 games or whatever it was, to study the game, and it changed him. What did you see happen to him during that little break there?
Yeah, he spent a lot of time with Steve Smith and video, and I thought he processed the games differently where he was injured. His feedback after games was deeper, and he was seeing the whole really clearly for me for the first time. I believe he probably went 1.5 seasons just trying to find, his role defensively, his game without the puck, because a player that skilled and talented, spends his life playing with the puck until he comes to the National Hockey League. And then as a first overall pick, suddenly people target you, you deal with the physicality, which he was never afraid of. But I think it was the whole that got lost a little bit in his individual play. And for me, he came back and understood the tactic and the strategy better. He simplified his game and brought his brilliance in on a more patient pace and waited for those opportunities versus thinking on every puck contact he needed to do something brilliant. And it was just a natural maturing for me that happened. And, an injury is just like this break right now. It's a question of what we do with that time that matters. And that's what we're going to be judged on. How we use the time, and he used it really, really well. And we're excited on the confidence that he took coming out of this season. And we're expecting him to come in and notch in at a real high level next year. And, we see him pushing into the 20 minutes on a regular basis moving forward.
All right, great. Thank you, Ralph, for your time today. And thank you, everybody, for your questions today and this week.
I wish everybody really, really good health and stay safe. And I'm excited to share the same space with you very soon again. Take care.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on.